So, good afternoon and welcome. So, good afternoon. You could be anywhere. It could be good morning to some of you guys out in the States. I know I've got a couple of guys I know down in New Zealand that are watching. So, what time is it there? All right. So, welcome to Jason Breach's Spokeshave Spectacular. All right. Okay. So, today we're going to focus a little bit on the Spokeshave. Actually, one of my favorite tools. You can create lovely, silky, smooth curves that almost don't need sanding. Well, I can. So that relates a little bit. I've had a few emails from different people saying, I've got a Spokeshave, doesn't work. Really? What doesn't work well? Get vibrations, it bounces, it shatters, it makes so. You've just seen me. Look at, I mean, this is lovely. Look, I mean, nice. A little bit of sound on the end, but actually constant shaving all the way through. So why? What have I done to that makes it work? Couple of things. We're going to go through all those sort of things, stupid things like gotta be sharp. That's obvious, isn't it? Which way you work, because actually, if I stay on this end and I come, ooh, all right, wow, that really just destroys it. That's destroyed all that hard work, and so grain direction is a real important part. So our piece of wood on here, if I just fish this out, we've got long curve, chair back in reality. So due to the fact the grain direction coming through, if I come against it, I'm planing into those fibers. A bit like you do a hand plane. It's exactly the same sort of tool. So got to get that grain direction working. So if I do the inside, yes, I've got to go from here to the middle. And it's one of those corresponding things that people don't always understand, that grain direction plays a real part. So I'm going to look at the grain direction a little bit more. Now I've got, this is VERITAS. Same thing, VERITAS Spokeshave. But what about if I go this way? Now, me and Ben have had experience with doing this in the chair course. We get these people that are, why didn't it work? Now, on here, I've just made some lovely marks. If I scribble across this, we've got lots of little dents. If I go back to my nice one and we approach it a little bit differently, what's going on? You can probably see I can bounce across those little ridges I put in. I'm also playing with my angle a little bit. Okay. I'm also controlling it. I land it, gently bring it forward. Now we've got a curve, I've got a flat. I've got to get that flat onto there. I find the cut edge, gently feed in. All right. Now let me just go up through, Ben, and then I'll get to you. All right. You can finish waving at me, okay? Just cleaning off. So nice and gently I can work across a width. Okay. Got rid of most of our pencil irons. I've still got a few little bits of chatter, but I haven't done this workout session for a few months now. So come on then, Ben, what have you got?
So a question from Maria here, Jason. She's asking, she's asking, is that been bent or has it been cut out?
Sorry, that should work.
Has it been the curve? Has it been bent or
no,
cut out?
Right. We cut these out when we've done them. All right. So I can see what you're looking at, Maria. So we could steam bend them. All right. But this is cut as solid. So we've got bark edge. All right. So there's a look, bark edge comes through. All right. And you get bark either side. So actually our grain, we come out solid. It'd be nice to steam bend. We probably could have done. Never really thought about, but these were cut out solid. So actually on here, I've got real short grain fibers. Come to the middle straighter. So that grain direction is such an important part. If you actually steam bent it, you've got less of an issue with that grain direction because you can work down that plank as a length. So yeah, fair enough as a question. That's a, you know, if I turn it around, we go to the bit we haven't played with. Okay. Now, I'm using a flat Spokeshave. What does that mean? This is flat. Let me come into, and I think actually if I just reach up, I've got the camera a bit nearer today, Ben. If you go to the overhead, which is on 3, I've got to come back. There it is. All right. This is flat. Across this section, we're doing a convex as a curve. So I've got to sit it on there and get it to work nicely. That's quite an important part. Come back a little bit. All right. So I've also got to make sure when I sit it on there, I'm just going to move your camera back a little bit, that I land it, if you like. Now I can rock it off my curve. I can roll it just a little bit. So I've got to find where it'll cut before I go moving anywhere. I just gently feel. I keep my pressure equal. Now this side we haven't cleaned up yet. So we're taking the high spots off across the bandsaw cut. Next thing I do, parallel would be there. I angle a little bit. I shear cut, if you like. So I'm changing the cutting edge. It's not cutting one complete hard line and bouncing off the bandsaw cut. I can angle across. Now you can hear the noise here. Hopefully you're picking that up. That's the bandsaw cut. We've still got lots of lines up here. So I've got to work round that. But by angling it, I bridge across those. I also, I'd say, almost doing like a shear cut across the grain. Easier to control. If I go parallel, each one of the bandsaw cuts that parallel, I bounce into. And it almost jumps across it a little bit. Whereas that angle helps support it. It also means I take a smaller section of a cut. If it's parallel, the blade's square, it wants to take all of it. What's the problem with that? I'm not very muscular. I'm not out of breath doing this yet, so that's good. So what I'm getting at is it takes a lot more effort to push it parallel if I do all one big cut. If I angle it, I can take a smaller section and control it better. So that's little tips to play with. Just working around, look. Soon clean this up. You can angle it the other way. So that's working quite nice. We've still got, and I don't know if you'll be able to see them. Just try to see your camera. You can see that white line here. That's bandsaw cut, another one there. So I've got to get rid of those. I've got a little bit around the top. Okay. So that bandsaw cut plays a bit of a part. There are things you can do. So we've said on here, let's just clear this. Look, it's a bit of a shame. I mean, Ben was saying how nice my shavings were for Spokeshaves. He must be impressed. Bring these in, just gonna have a look. So those are both flat. Let's go get another. We've got a curve. Which camera are we on there? That's the overhead, isn't it, Ben? No, in there. So this is curved on here. Rounded section. Slight curve. Now you can get, in reality, different curves, and that also depends a little bit on the manufacturer. So I've got there. What have I got on there? That's a flat. This is a Clifton one. Bring me back. There I am. All right. So this has got a flat section. All right. Got to angle my blade up. It's a bit twisted on there at the moment. We can move that about. That's Clifton one. Metal handles. About flat. Got. Do that one in a minute. That's a bit more interesting. Got one of our rider ones. This is flat. I've got a curve on here. Let's find the curve, which is down the bottom. All right. So flat and curve over in the back end. Bit floating today, guys, up in the air. This is tricky to find that camera. That's better. Okay. So we've got flat and curve, but the curves will vary on the manufacturers, and it's so difficult to give you that as a thing. I'm hoping you can see some of that on the camera if I move them about a bit, how that varies. So what you might find, one curve will work better than another. How do you know? You've got to have a play a little bit. All right. So I've got different types. Last one I'm just going to bring, I've got two to do really. This is low angle. The blade is actually sat parallel here. I've got two of these in here. The front stop, I never realized until a few years ago, I can turn it round. So I've got a shorter section on this one. If I reach back, the one behind, look at the difference on the front. Longer one, shorter. So the longer one actually better for flat stuff or straight stuff. If I want to do a hollow curve or even the curve I've got here, I want to turn this bit round, it unscrews. There, turn it round. I can have a short, I can have a long. Right, so that does vary. That's why those two, as much as they are exactly the same, have got slightly different setup on the front. All right, one more to do, Ben. Sorry, he's got his arm up here. You're gonna stop the blood flowing a minute. Okay, curve one. All right, one of my favourite Spokeshaves. This had one of these when I was at college, so about 16, 17 years old. Definitely great. We'll get the chair seat up in a minute. This is a problem one that we had lately from a customer who couldn't get it to work properly. So I sorted that one out and we explained what he did wrong. Nothing drastic. Okay, so lots of different Spokeshaves. So Ben's got his arm up. Come on, Ben.
So we've got a few questions. Are we going to see any sharpening today?
I'm going to cover the sharpening.
Brilliant.
Okay?
Brilliant. And so And in that, you'll talk about the angle of the bevel.
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Maria's asking as well, you know, that method of sort of a diagonal cut, that shear cut.
Almost that shear cutting angle, yeah.
Would that same technique work with a draw knife?
Yeah, because with draw knife, if you're presenting it square, you're going to try to take all the cut in one go. I'll go back to my flat one on here. Like an angle, and I don't know how much you can do. Let's go to the overhead bend. I'm just going to zoom you guys in a bit. I can bring me forward or back, head over a bit. Okay. Do you think I've got a curve here? I can minimize how much cut I take. So I'm taking actually a narrower shaving, which is more controllable. The minute I come to here, I've got to push all of that. I've now got a small hollow in the middle. That's harder for me to push through because I'm making more contact. It's one wide shaving. Here, I can cut nicely. So it helps just to build that shape as well. So you could do exactly the same with a draw knife. Okay, let's bring it back a little bit. So it can be really good to do. And people don't seem to understand that by angling this, you're changing the approach. You're also cutting on a shear angle with the cutting edge, the blade, and it's shear cutting through it, not straight on. All right, so you're changing that aggressive point of where things are working. All right, uh-oh. Oh no, okay, call them, bud.
So then a question from Cliff. He's asking, why would you, which one would you choose then? How do you decide which spoke shave to buy?
Okay, good question, Cliff. Now on here, curved one, rounded. All right, VERITAS one, got a blade, got to bring it forward a bit. This is definitely older one, the blade's a bit shorter. Now, and the sad thing is, Ben will tell you that, especially when we used to do the share course, I could pick up any spoke shave and probably do the job. We've had people that would not working. No, this is curved. Now, for me, like fingertips. Next thing, this is not white knuckle rider. I'm not really gripping and pushing down. I can use my fingertips to control. Now, this is curved. In reality, this should be better for the other side. I can get it to work, but I've really got to concentrate to balance it across where the cutting edge is. All right. If not, I'm going to sit on the front and the back. So that's not brilliant for this. That's going to be hard work. Flat one, easier to do this with. I don't have to focus as much. I can go fingertip pressure, but I'm still maintaining. I don't drop it in straight off. Land it. Let's find it. Move along. We go. So I said to you about that factor. Ben will vouch for. No, he's sat here laughing now. All right, nice and controlled. Build your shape. Okay, so all does play a part. Let's bring it back just a little bit. Oh, no, another one. No, come on.
Yeah,
no,
this is Q&A,
okay,
Jason.
Sorry. Time. No, sorry.
You're good. Maria's asking. Well, she's saying, so an electric planer is not going to do a curved surface then, like a handheld electric planer.
Well, that's it. You put it this. Now, with electric planer, if you're clever, and I've met a few guys over the years, you might manage this. What about this? Now, where's he live? Can we get him in? I want to say this. Okay, so we go curve on the inside now. Where am I best to be? Okay, now go back to where I think where you were, Ben. Even 2 might be good as well. Just a look. I'm just looking what looks better on the camera layout. Flat curve. I can come to here. Careful with what I've got behind me. Got to get it held nicely. Let's move my bit of wood over. Get it in the vise. Locks down. Push the pin down so I can get in here. Now I've got to come that way towards the middle. A bit heavy on one side. So nice thing with this, and the VERITAS ones are really good for this. I've got this fine adjuster either side. I can tweak things just that little bit. Now, my curve will get in here. I can cut, I can produce a shaving. I've got support gently coming down, okay? Cleaning up nicely. When do they go to a flat? Nothing. So what's actually happening in reality with this? Now, I've got a bit of cardboard that I've got, which is for something else in a minute. I've got a hollow as a curve, right? Something like that. The minute I try and put it into here, it bridges across the front and the back point. Now, I can make it cut. So how do I make it cut for this? If I want to do it, I don't really want to use it for this. I'm winding the blade forward. Now the problem is I've got a lot of blade overhanging now. It's going to be difficult to control and set up. It also isn't supported on the blade because it's poking out so much now. You've not got the support of, in reality, the frog section in behind it. So this is similar to a hand plane. Let's just undo the screw. Look. Oh, this is I'll hold it up. Frog section is in here. It sits on this, needs to be supported, especially behind the cutting edge. So you also then have your mouth, which is this big gap. All right, now this looks quite big on this spoke shape, but these have thicker blade. All right, difficult to show. Bring it back over. So this is probably good 3.5 mil thick as a thickness of the blade. That's quite chunky for a spoke shape. Now that also means it's going to absorb the vibration. The bevel edge is face down when it's put in. That's another thing to make sure of. If you go the other way over, it will still probably cut, but you've got to wind it right back, which means I've got a massive opening on my mouth. I can't come back far enough on the fine adjusters here to bring it back. So it's telling me I'm doing something wrong. Got to be in that way. So bevel face downwards. There is one there. Let's bring these forward because I've come too far back. It's going to be difficult to adjust it. That's better. Wind it in, just feeling my fingertips. I hope you're seeing all this. I'm trying to look at the camera and do this. Put our cap or chip breaker on the top. Look. So this is our flat, not cutting too much. I've got one corner still too far out. Just setting up, I'm feeling with my fingertips where things are. My right hand side as I'm holding it, it's a bit behind. Let's bring it up. So I'm winding the blade forward gently on the fine adjuster. Just going to see where things are now. To do this better, I go with the curve. I can angle it again. If you're trying to do a nice clean-up cut, finer cut would be better. All right, now we've looked at a little bit of cutting board, hollow. So if you think on this as a shape, we have a curve, both sides, internal and external. I need two different spoke shapes to do that as a cleanup. A flat one, curved one, do the hollow. Okay, that's quite an important part. Let me just put that out of the way for a second. Now, a few tricks and tips that we can do to try and improve things. What a mess. Okay. You said about sharpening. It's the most important part. If it's not sharp, it is not going to work. No matter what you do, you will bounce. You'll get vibration. You'll get frustrated. You will try and push it really hard and firm. In that sense, the more late to wind the blade out more because it doesn't seem right. And the more you come out, the more effort you've got to apply to try and get to cut. Spokeshaves in here, I will sharpen with a 25-degree primary bevel and a 30-degree sharpened edge. Hand plane, chisels, everything. Next thing you can do, if you go buy yourself a spoke shave, and it depends on how much you want to spend. This is going to sound wrong, isn't it? I mean, Rotor spoke shaves, I think, are £17, £18 maximum. All right. Then you can probably check and tell me if I'm right in a minute. All right. VERITAS ones are over £100. They're similar. Are they the same? They will do slightly different jobs. What's the differences? VERITAS one I've already said has got the thicker blade, 3.5 mil thick. Nice flat surface in here. Then just have a look on. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I know you're typing that. I can see what you're looking at. All right, nice flat frog area inside here. Okay, machined. As we said, thicker blade. Fine adjusters. Really good. And just bring my hand back, try to look at the camera. That'll wind the blade forward and back. But on the top, sits in nicely. Something that's a bit cheaper, we can undo. Still got a chip breaker. We've got a blade thinner. Now, let me just compare. Hoping you guys can see that at home, how much different they look. Thinner and thicker. VERITAS one, this one. Thinner one. What does that mean? It's more likely to flex, bounce a little bit, not as thick. Okay. Other things in here, we've got probably larger mouth area. All right, quite big. You've got your frog area, but it's painted. Now the other one, we got a machine surface, so it would suggest these are painted after they're machined. Now I'm just taking off the 2 adjusters. I'm going to give you a couple of things you can look for on a spoke shave. If you buy second-hand or you buy rider ones, something like this is somewhere I'd look. I haven't found any of these that are wrong, but worth having a look at. Now I'm just going to set the vise up in a vise. That sounds odd, doesn't it? Oh, I'll bring it in. Let's have a look on where we are. I'll go the other side. I think you guys will see more. I can tweak the camera around to get you in a little bit. So just hold on a second. I'm probably going to move you a little bit. I'm reaching up. Bring that over. Okay. So I'm just adjusting the overhead camera to bring it in a bit better. Just need to tighten up a little bit more there. That's good. Okay, so what I want to do, camera free, I think, Ben. Let's have a look. I've got the voice I've set up on here. Before I can grip my spoke shave. Hoping you guys can see this. Let me put this just in underneath the card. This area in here, as I've said, is painted. I can undo that chip breaker screw. We'll take that out. Is this nice and flat? It's difficult to tell, but there's nothing to stop you. Just with a nice fine file, cleaning up that surface. Because first of all, there's a blob of paint or anything here. It's going to make the blade sit unequally. If it's raised up one side off the other, it's going to flex, bounce every time you try and cut with it. And that doesn't, it sounds weird, doesn't it? But I could take off a little bit of paint. Okay, so just filing it through. You don't need a really aggressive file. This is probably a second cut, really small file, all right? Because I want to get it through, not touch the top of the mouth, but really just clean up that surface. I'll put my fingertip on the top, left hand, that'll help support it. And all I'm really trying to do is clean up the front face along here, back edge, where things are supported. Just really to clean that paint off. Trying to keep it flat. That does mean, and it's difficult to know what I can use in here, when I put my blade back in, it will sit flat. Now, first thing you can check is obviously that opening. Something like a little square or flat piece of metal, but it needs to be flat, you could put in. I've got a small engineering square that I could put in there. I can hold it on the front, check there's no rook. On the back, do I get anything there where it's central? So I'm playing around with my fingertips, get my pressure, just see what's happening. But little things like this, and even if you bought second-hand spoke shave, it can be worth doing this bit of tweaking. Just putting things back together on there, put the screw in. Let's get the file adjusters back in. I'm not saying if they paint it after, you're more likely to get a blob of paint. Bring that back in. Don't want that blade. I've got to explain that blade. Putting that in. I know Ben's sat here with another question now. I'll put that in. I'm just going to reassemble. Get things to where I want. Cap iron's going on the top. That needs to come in. The blade I've got angled down. Bring the screw up. I've unwound the back screw on here. So it's coming in flatter. Bring it up. Pushes it up. The front edge needs to push the blade down. Clamp it in place. So this is your tension. Needs to be done up. Okay. Then.
Sorry, just so a question from Maria. She's asking about a mini spoke shave. Can you get a mini spoke shave?
What's a mini one? Isn't it?
For little?
Okay, if you go smaller, exactly the same scenario. I mean, I'm behind me somewhere. I've got a wooden one somewhere. Where's it gone? Someone's had it. Okay, we've got a wooden one in here somewhere, but you can have smaller one, wooden one. Look, okay. But you can have mini ones. They will do exactly the same. If you do anything violin-wise, you make violins, small little types of spoke shaves and planes and stuff. You can come down in size immensely. The principle is exactly the same. All right.
And we've got a little VERITAS one
we do a miniature VERITAS one, which is actually a scaled down thing of this. I've got the scaled down shoulder plane and a few other bits. Okay, so we put that back in. We've leveled it. Now, next thing. Just going to move this down. I've done my vice bit on there just to hold it. I'm moving things around the bench just a little bit. I'll probably take that vice out. We need it again. Let's have a think. It's easy to get. Let's move that just over to there. I've got my board in here. Right, just going to tweak the camera around again. There you go. This is getting good, look. Okay. Now I've got scary sharpening board, but actually I bought it in for the reason I want to put this in. Now this is a blade. This is out of one of my Spokeshaves that I had years ago. This is an old Stanley Spokeshave that I had and I bought. So by old, it was brand new when I had it. This was the first blade I had. I bought a replacement. Why? Well, first thing, I spent a lot of time trying to get it flat. I think you can probably see the color variation between this. The outside edges aren't flat. Middle was flat. That's with a bit of work on an old oil stone, try and flatten it back. Then if you start to think about this, and I'm just going to get the Spokeshave back in. It won't fit in here, but it'll give you the principle what happens. The blade is beveled down. So on here, the bit I flattened, you can see it shine more. It's face up, which actually means that side is down. Now that's got to go down. That's the bit that's hitting the frog. Ideally, it wants to be flat, because if it's hollow or cupped, it's not going to support that blade. So having spent that time trying to tune it up, you then get into things like this and you suddenly go, so I've got a feeler gauge. I put the square on here. Look at this. Hollow. I can come up in thicknesses. Let's put a couple of those together. So on here, just goes through there, just a bit thick. All right, so it pulled it. Let's come back to that one then. So feeler gauge. Now, this is the thin one out here. Thicker, gets thicker, so I don't know whether I can tell you what it is, but it's not really going to, but that's hollow there. As I come out to the edges, it touches. So this blade, if I actually magnified it and held it up, is hollow in the middle, touching either side. So if I put it down in the Spokeshave, only the middle bit will start to cut, but it's not supported, it will flex and bend. All right, especially on a thinner blade. That can cause real issues. So actually with this, if you've got that as a scenario, diamond stone, we could flatten the top. You've also got to flatten the underside to flatten the blade. You do get to that scenario of, is it worth doing this? Where you can invest your money a little bit. The VERITAS ones I do know are obviously more expensive, but they're going to tell you that blade is flat. Now, you've seen what I've just done on here. Can you see the shine on either side now where I'm taking material off? Yeah, I've got a lot to go. But where's the metal bin bun? So you kind of get the scenario. It can become frustrating. So something like that, if you get a blade that's really cupped. Now, why are they cupped? Let's go main one, Ben. A bit like a hand plane blade. These are actually punched out on a hydraulic press. So it goes into a thing. The press comes down. Well, it's supported around the edge of the sheet metal. So if the punch comes down, hits the middle more, it will bend it. One way or the other, you can get a slightly cut blade. Can become really frustrating that you can spend a lot of time trying to clean things up. So that's one issue. Next thing, let's just go back to my bit of wood. Right, so we're checking the blade, checking the mouth is flat and not too much paint. Okay. Then probably two, I think. Okay, good. Now, if you have your blade, I think you can see that it comes in. All right. So this is your blade, and you've got your bit of wood. As it comes in, it starts to cut. Now it will lift up the shaving. If the mouth is too far forward and big, all right, and I'll explain the mouth again in a minute, the shaving is allowed to lift up more and tear, and it starts to splinter away and split. So you take your blade in, it tears the grain fibers more. So we can keep pressure on the workpiece, really using that mouth. Now, depending on the size of the mouth, that can be a problem thing. We can't adjust this. On some of the hand planes, we can move the front back. We can also, on some of the Bailey and Bedrock style planes, move the frog forward to close that gap down so you get pressure on the front of the mouth, pushing down on the workpiece. That's reducing that tearing. On here, you can't adjust it. Or can you? So simple little thing. Now Veritas do this with actually their Spokeshaves. Comes in the little pack. If you've got something like a Stanley one where you want to do, let's get the one I've got there. Look, right? So right, what can I do? I can make a packer, but it needs to be something equal thickness. So this is milk carton. Okay. So all I've done, cut a little plastic sleeve out of milk carton. I can drop it in, put that on the top. That packs it up, moves it forward slightly. So that's closing that down a bit. Move the screw out, that'll be better. That's better, look, close it up. So I've closed the gap on my mouth slightly, just by using that packer. That's a really good way of adjusting it. But obviously that's going to limit the size of the shaving that will come through. All right. So if you're trying to take a heavy shave and you find it's snagging, that pack is not working for you. Take it out. If you're doing something lighter, let's see what this will do. Heavy one side. So again, I've got fine adjusters on this. Still heavy on right hand edge. Come back. Better. Now I can start to adjust things. Again, shear cutting. Wind our blade back. Forward. Tighten things up. All right, now this I haven't sharpened, but my pack is still working nicely. Okay, and it's closed that mouth down just a little bit. And that's a good little tip, little tricks that you can do. Okay, sharpening them. We've got sharpening station. I'll bring you back a little bit. There you go, good. I need to do a couple of things. One, because I'm going to use scary sharpening board. Why do I want to use this? Because it's nice and flat. I'm going to spray the bench, clean it, right? Get rid of the dust. I need to clean the 4 little rubber feet underneath. I want it to stop it sliding about. That's better. First place I would start by buying myself a new Spokeshave, especially if I've got something, if you like, bargain price. I'd put diamond stone. Why diamond stone? Because I know it's nice and flat. All right. My major place to sharpen, I wouldn't worry about the cutting edge to start with. I'd worry about the back. If you buy a Veritas one, you're not going to do this too much. All right. You shouldn't need to be doing this with a diamond stone. You can go to here in a minute. Stanley ones, record ones, old ones, I'd go with that. So this is, I think, 400 grit. I've got to have a look, which means somewhere. Okay, there. I've got them. Look, it's all right, better. It's the fact I can't find my glasses without my glasses on. Okay, 400 grit. So coarser. Pen marks on here. You kind of see. I don't need to do all the way back. Got something on there. I can feel it gritty. Do that back first. I'm trying to keep it flat. Okay. The pen marks really are going to tell you guys what's going on nicely. I've got a little bit either side. They're a little bit hollow. I expect it to be a little bit hollow. I know these are done with a press. Veritas ones are, I think, laser cut out these days. So you're not getting that distortion as much. Getting there. Can do a bit the other way. Fingers are really working on here, bridging across. So this is my first line of attack before I'd sharpened it. I would do the back. All right. I want to get a line all the way across the front, nearly there. It's a little bit hollow, but it'd be nice to get. In the bottom, got some water. All right, so that to there. That's looking better. I've got a line there, last little bit. Whilst I've got this, I'm just going to flip it over. Let's just see what we got. High in the middle. That's okay. I can cope with that. We can get that down. All right. People think it's weird you do both sides. Okay, can be good. High spot working on there. I can see it. Okay, so we've done a bit there. Let's have a look. Got high spot I'm leveling. Back, I've actually got a shine all the way across the front, which is enough. You can see the colour change. All right. Whew. Right, okay. Ben, you had your hand up.
Oh, Maria was asking if you used a lubricant, but then do you quite quickly use the water?
Okay, now I can use, on the diamond stone, I could use a lapping fluid, would be good. On the scary sharpening board, I could use a lapping fluid. I don't use oil because it creates more mess. This is just water. It's easy to clean up because I get filthy doing these as demos. And people complained about my hands by the end of this. All right, so I do use water. It's easier to clean up. Again, I could use a lapping fluid on here. All right. I can also use, I've got another bottle. I'm just wandering around now. Got another bottle which we do a waterstone additive, which is classed as home right. All right. I can put that in. That stops things going rusty. It also acts a bit more as a lubricant to help stop what's happening now. Maria, have gone off on it. In reality, on a tangent, why do we want a lubricant? To stop things sticking to the surface, to clean it out, to flush those metal particles away that we're taking off. Why am I throwing that into you? All understand why we add that lubricant to this, so we actually rinse away the metal particles that I've cut. If not, they're going to stick on the surface and clog it. Okay, so done there. Back to our water. On the board now. This from memory is 800, 2,500 grit. This is a scary sharpening board. The rubber feet are sticking nicely, fantastic, good. Why do I use this? Because I know it is flat. If I use my water stone to do this, I've got the slight aspect, it gets a little bit hollow. So with this, if I'm going to do a heavy sharpening session where I want to actually get something flat, my scary sharpening board will work nicer and maintain its flatness without me having to dress it or do anything else. Why not stay with the diamond stone? This is finer. Okay, so I'm going up in grade now. And again, with doing that back, the top edge I won't do with this. What am I trying to get? Starting to get more of a mirror. This is a bit over the top for some of you. Might say that's enough. I can go 2,500 grit. Now, at the moment, we haven't sharpened this. We are just preparing it to go in, getting rid of any rock or anything else, maintaining its fatness. That scary sharpening board will help give me that aspect. So hopefully now, it's like a mirror now. Maybe you can see Ben. You can wave. All right. So, okay, so you get that idea now that I've got that. That didn't take me long, did it? Got a little bit more we could do across here, but that would be my first line of attack. Get rid of any heavy grinding lines on here and flatten it. So when it goes in, it is clamped down across the front. Other thing we might need to look at, and again, depends on the makes, how much attention they've done. We got that one there. I've got a blade. I haven't got a spoke shave for it. That's weird. Okay, let's take a. This is the chip breaker part. Let's just wind that screw back. I need to make sure definitely that front edge is flat. So I'm back to the diamond stone. And what I'm trying to get is this bit that's clamping down onto that blade flat. So it's creating that pressure point nice and equally. Go along, look. Again, depending on the manufacturer, the make, will determine what you've got to do with this. Getting a bit of clogged. So let's go to our flush. Look at that, rinse out. You can see the black. That's the burnt metal particle, if you like, what we've just cut off. Keep it moving. A little bit to go. Probably enough, but we're going through it now. And again, all I'm trying to get is a bar that's going to create an equal pressure point. Push down on that blade. Okay, got a tiny bit, but that's better. All right, that's going to give me something flat. So far, we haven't sharpened it. When have you said about angles? I've already said I do 25 and a 30. I could bounce a number of different things off you. Let's have a quick tidy up and move things about. That. that. Box. Okay. Glasses. I never thought it was going to get that cluttered. Now, spoke shaves are a real tricky thing to sharpen. All right. We want 30. I can give you 3 different things I can sharpen on. VERITAS do a short jig. Got to look at my thing. 25 is there, 30 is there. This would clamp in. Let's go over to here. All right. I will set up 3 different things for you, and I'll explain the problems with certain other things. Got to turn these around. You can see what I'm doing. These arms. This is a short blade jig from memory or honing guide. Now the idea about this is, and I'll show you how I'm set up in a second. I'm going to keep my hands in line with the camera. That's good. What we got on here, we have a roller that fits into this groove, which is hollow. I think you can see the section. Goes to there. I come down to the stop point, which is the front one here, because I want 30 as an edge, right? And it's 1/8 thickness blade. They do different thicknesses up through, up to 1/4. That gives me a 30-degree angle. Quick and easy set. I can clamp it in place here. This is rubber stopped underneath here on the front and the back. So that will go on. I can do 800s this side. Now, I can also add a little bit of camber by pushing down with my fingertips on either side. That gets rid of the really sharp corners. Also means the middle of the blade will make contact more than the edges, so I don't create a tram line. So I'm varying my finger pressure just a little bit. One, let's go up to 2,500. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a polish. Let's move this about, see what we've got. Just take it out. So that's one aspect I can sharpen. Back of the blade, I would have created a burr. All I've got to go back to is that 2,500 grit. Nice and flat, up and down. All right. Last stage I would do, but again, not always necessary. That'll go on there. That'll be all right. Leather strop. So on here, if I'm going to do leather strop, got to turn it over, gently come down, pull it back. I can do there. Now on this, I'm going to lift it up, bring my hand back a little bit so you can see. Fingertips, I can almost put on the front. Lift up, I can feel the bevel edge. I can gently pull it towards me. Okay, not too much pressure. Turn it over. Well, hopefully now get something that's pretty sharp. All right. That looks pretty good, feels pretty good. Thing I'm not allowed to do, shave my hairs. There you go. That's good. So that works, all right? Now that's quite a simple one. That's that Stanley blade. Okay, what did I sharpen that one for? So let's go different blade then, or different sharpening jig. So that's short one. That's great for that. In here, when we used to do the chair course and stuff, we never had that. So I had an CLIFTON holding guide. Yeah, there it is. Sorry, Ben. It's all right. It's me thinking I'm on the wrong camera. It's a long reach to that camera. VERITAS make this thing, which is magnetic. So in reality, the blade will sit into here, bevel down, clip on. I've got it positioned, so I'm hoping I'm at my 25-degree angle. So I work that around, or my 30-degree, my cutting. But the smoke shave I've got that I've just taken apart, look at the difference of these. Can you see that? That's called wear. That's called Jason sharpening. All right? How much different? I've taken about 1/8 of an inch off. That's changed that angle. So I've got to be a little bit careful. The one I've got now is a bit longer. So I've got to look at where we are. I can put it on. Look at my fingertips. I'm getting a small gap on the front. So all I've done there on my fingernail is feel what's going on. I know I've got a 30 on there as an edge. I can bring this back, bring it up. Okay. Just going to tighten that up. Ben's almost waving at me again. I'm just, all right. Just going to fish this blade off. People go, why don't you freehand sharpen? Oh, because that's problematic to hold that nicely. If you want to hold it anywhere freehand, you can do this, fingertip there, and go down it. Okay, in line. but still tricky to do without wiggling about and losing that angle. This is nice to clip on up to there, sits in, off I go. Don't need, and people say, but the magnet, and I've read a few reviews, the magnet doesn't hold it. If you push down firm, it'll clip. But I'll tell you something, I've really got to push firm to make it do that. So as long as I'm not too aggressive and I have my fingertips up the front, how about that? Nice and easy, up and down. Get my fingers equal, a little bit one side. I can roll on that roller underneath so I can take a little bit, add a little bit of camber. One, I'm just going to go up there, Ben, and then we'll come to you, all right? So that works quite nice, but it's a few more components because this is a separate, doesn't fit in their honing guide, believe it or not. This just fits probably in the Mark 1 honing guide they did, not the Mark 2, which I've used for things like the chisel and stuff. But great that. So I leave that set up in here. And Ben will tell you, I've shouted at a few people on, what have you done? You've taken it apart. No! Right, okay, calm on, Ben.
Just a question from Maria. Would you put a micro bevel on it? A secondary bevel?
Everything I've got on here, I've got a sharpened angle of 25. So a bit of my, gotta stay at this, look. A bit like my plate, you sit here laughing, right? So 25. Now look at the front of that tip on there. Now this is the same with my plain blade. 25 is the primary bevel. 30 is the cutting edge. If I was doing something as a really hard wood, all right, oak can be one, and people say oak's not that hard. Jarrah, all right, teak, I might put 33. Likewise, especially with the VERITAS ones and the PMV blade, it's a harder metal. So you could go up to 33, it'll give it more strength, okay? Will help hold that edge because it's more brittle. The reason for doing what I've got there, I've only got to sharpen a little bit. Takes less time, especially when you go to a thicker blade. That's a long surface area to remove all of that material from front to back when sharpening. So on the blades on here, this one shows it quite nicely. If you look at it closely, you can probably see I've got a strip along the front that's more reflective. The bit in behind is what we've got as that clearance angle. So 25 and 30 minimum will do most of you, okay? That's an important part because then I'm only actually sharpening that front little bit. Create that line. All right, sorry, Ben. What have you got as your...
Oh, so sorry. Dances was asking what jigs you might use, but hopefully you're showing.
I'm going to show you
now.
three.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So for years I've managed with this, and I mean, you know, we used to do lots of chair courses where I would play relay with the Spokeshaves, take one off of one person, sharpen the blade, give it to the next person, move around the room, and this meant I could just go over and do that. So in real take a blade off, give it back to them, put the next one in, off we go. Okay. And I think I ended up with the name of the monkey or something. All right, so back over 2,500. We can then do the back, bring it up, flat, up and down. Right. I can go to, oops, leather strap. Gently up, pull it through. Do the back. All right, I could come more equal on the back. So parallel, get fingertip pressure, pull it down. All right. Good. That's quite nice. Feels sharp. Okay, so I'll put that back in. So at the moment we've done, the first one, the VERITAS one, is really new. Within the last year, that's something they've been working on to try and do a short jig. Important things with this, which is a learning curve for me, it has the 30 and a 25 registration point on here, either corner of this bit. That relates to 30, 25. So I get 25 there, turn them over, 30 there. So if you get it the wrong way around, it doesn't seem to work, doesn't line up right. That's what you're doing wrong. All right, got to get it correct. Then you can get your drop into your groove on here. If you go thicker blades, so something like the VERITAS, you can come up the scale a little bit. All right, so the steps, well thought out. But like I said, within the last year, what I've been using we've had for a while with the magnet. Last one, I really like, which is strong statement for me. That's positive. But does involve a few things. Let's find a spoke shave we haven't taken apart. Let's have that. Look, we have this thing which fits on our ultimate edge grinder. Got to think about which way we go. Let's go there. Let's have a look. That's that way. I need that round there. I put my blade face down. If I get it correct. That one. Sorry. I want the knob this side. I now need a setup distance. Which, let's see what we've got. See if we can reach for this to there. I need 25mm overhang. All right, checking things look equal. I could come the other side. So I hope I'm sharpening right. So I'm trying to get myself something parallel. On the rider, spoke shave would have been easier because it's a longer slight blade. So again, blade lengths can make a difference on this. I'm gripping on the corners here, got a little bit on the back edge. All right. This then can go into this as a holding guide. Now we want a 30. Now this is adjustable on here. There's a scale. I want 30. So I've got 20, 25, 30's up there. I can line my line up. Probably difficult to see on the camera. I've got 30 down through there as a line and 30 on a scale. So 40, 35, 30, all right, down through. Whole load of different numbers on there. Bring it up. Look, there you go. If you've got the ultimate edge, you can go from a grinder with that. Slide it onto here. Push it over. Oh, he says. Got a bit more. Bring that in. That's good. Then I can drop off. Now this has got a big wide roller here. Up and down. Paper. Blue paper roll. You wouldn't think would make that much difference. Okay. And up and down. Now that wide roll on here makes it easy and repeatable just to work down there. 800. Again, got debris on my board. I can feel it with the roller. It won't make any difference. I just don't like the sound. And then we're up through. If I can get them off, or I can sheet. Look, we can undo side screw. Take it out. Then you can obviously do hand planes, chisels, whole range of different things in. The major thing with this is this fits straight onto the ultimate edge grinder, so you can do your rough grind 25, load it, sharpen your chisels, same setting without moving anything, but you can adjust your micro bevel. That's quite a nice aspect, but a bit more money. Okay. All right, so we've shown you how you can sharpen most of the blades. Oh my God, I didn't envisage this mess then. All right, okay. 2 to do to sharpen. All right. One of my favourite spoke shaves when we did was this low angle. The blade on this, I've just been quite sneaky, fits in here. It is parallel to the bottom of the spoke shave. Okay. But in comparative to what we've just sharpened, I thought this was difficult to hold. Wow. Okay. So my best advice, if you have something like this, where do you want to sharpen it? How about that? Just put it flat. Don't worry about the bevel. As long as you haven't chipped the blade or anything like that, your best place to sharpen is that back edge and restore it. Keep it flat, keep it polished. All right. A few of the guys out there going, you've just gone from one stone to another. No, I've gone from a sheet of abrasive. I'm not getting any grit coming off. I can go from one to the other without having to flush it. You can see the metal particles in the water there. But I can sharpen just that back edge. I could do the buff on here. All right, push it down through as long as my lever doesn't wide along the bench. I can do the bear off the front, put it back. Okay, so best place to sharpen that, definitely on that flat edge on the bottom. So much easier to hold. That will give you a sharp edge. If you define the word sharpness, it is the accurate coming together of 2 ground points. 1, 2. Bevel, face up in this. tighten both the round little knobs equally, which is what I'm doing here. All right, bring those up. That'll give me a cut edge. I can pinch them up nice and firm, but I need to tighten both of them. If you tighten one over the other, it pushes the blade out a little bit one side more than the other. But great to use because actually it's a bit like a low angle plane. Everything's in line with the blade. It takes less effort to push it through. All right, but more difficult to sharpen. Okay, Ben, what have you got? So Ben's now panicking. All right. Yeah, keep talking, guys. So Ben's just panicking because the cameras in here, the Canon cameras, have a push button they cut out after 30 minutes. I must have been entertaining because he dropped off. Look.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so come on, Ben. What have you got as a question? Sorry.
Maria has one of the wooden style ones with the two tangs that push up through the piece of wood.
Right.
Sharpening that.
So
Is
this?
there, yeah.
Okay. Now, let's bring this in. So let's show you what it is. This has wooden handle blade. This one's getting quite old. Look at the blade. It's getting a bit worn out. All right. Let's see if I can get it out. Ideally, you want a hammer. Now, easiest way if you can, Maria, these have a tang. So this is the blade. Hope you can see that. There's your handle. I've just pushed it out. You can sharpen the internal face. But again, it might be easier, but it depends on how much wear it's had to sharpen the underside. This one's a bit curved, so I can sharpen that curve across the bottom. Inside is difficult with where we are. You've got to find something that will fit in between there. So hand diamond flat. You can have small oil stone. You can even go with some of the Silver paper we've got on here, the 800, wrap around a smaller piece of MDF or something. But my easy option there, I'd actually work in line with it and do the bottom edge. Okay, when we put it back in, the tangs that sharp there. Let's do the other one as well. I might use this in a minute. I haven't been played with for a while. So the tangs on here, I'll bring them up. Trying to get my hand in line. These taper. So when it goes in place, turn it around to get the right way, push it in. Got to push. Then I'm just going to vanish just briefly. I'm going to find a pin hammer. All right, so pin hammer. Where are we? Just see me in the vice. Look. Then tap it in. Got a bit more to do. I'm a bit wide on. Turn it round. And you know I'm not hitting the blade section, hitting out on the corners, right? Ideally, you want a bit more support than I've got on there with my vice. It's a bit too far open. All right. Then, I've still got one spokeshave to sharpen. Let's have my cork block back just as a support block. Probably a bit heavier cut at the moment. Again, same rules apply. We've got an angle. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? All right. We can work across. So easy to tap those in and out. So I can adjust how much cut I want to take by there. You can also change the shape of these because they are wooden. So you might find this has got quite a curve. It'd be great for the other side. All right. I'm having to concentrate again to control it. Then
Cliff's asking why you have a preference to the low angle spoke shave.
Now, in simple, okay, it can be great, Cliff, especially for, it'll do this. No, that one there. That one's got the wider thing. All right. I can do that. That's got the narrower head, as in the front bar. Sorry, Cliff, I'm out of camera, sorry. All right, that there. This bar, like I said, I've turned over. I've got two in here, so it's wider on here. That section. Now that's going to make it more tricky to do this curve because I've got more bearing surface to sit on. But if I adjust my blade right, or in this case, I've got to adjust that front bar. Am I still in camera? Let's have a look. Yeah, good. Oh. Undo the two screws. Now, in simple, The low angle, a bit like a low angle plane, I find takes less effort. And if you think, if you go back to what Maria's just got me to do, sharpen that wooden one, that's a low angle spokeshave. Because the blade set parallel to the bottom. There's no, as much as it's got a mouth section, it's level and parallel with the base. Most of the others are set in at an angle. Now, I've just adjusted the front bar. I can work around there, a bit too heavy on that cutlet, so too deep on my front bar. Moving down again, he's shifted a little bit. Now, if you think about how I've got the front bar now and it's wider, all right, so I'm just pushing this back down. Oh, feeling what's going on. Still got a bit. Might be too much. I've got to tighten the back up. Still a little bit heavy, look. Right? So I can adjust the bar up and down to adjust how much cut I take. That's quite a nice feature. But due to the fact it's got that wider bar, the minute I bring it over to do the inside, it's going to create more problems because it's got more surface contact on the width of this. You've got the width of the blade and the back. That's quite a long flat surface now to try and do a hollow. I can turn the bar around, but I've still got that width, which is flat. And the cutting point is right up here. All right, bring me, sorry, better go in. Which one are you on there? There, okay. So the cutting point is that front edge. I've got this long flat surface in behind it. So if we've got a hollow, it's bridging off of there and the front bar. So it tends to push it up a little bit. If you're doing something external curve, can be good. All right, on here, going to struggle a little bit. I've got to play around with that front bar. I can get it to cut, but I've got to adjust the bar depth. All right, so that can be worth looking at. But low angle spoke shaves definitely need a little bit less effort. Okay, last spoke shave really to look at. Clifton one. All right, now I introduce my favourite spoke shave, one of these. All right, got curve. I'll bring on what we're going to do with this. So, had customer problem with one of these the other week. Why? What's he done? How he sharpened it. Where do you sharpen this? You have a curve, a flat. Okay, your curve ideally needs to match the shape of the curve on this. So in reality, the customer involved had taken and gone to sharpen it. I don't know what he sharpened it with. Something a little bit aggressive from my point of view. Taking more off the center. Now, if you think about what you're doing, if you're on here and you're trying to sharpen this, the likelihood is you will take more off the center because you're crossing across that more than the outside edges. So the center point was lower than the outside when he puts it back in. When it goes back into here, the outside corner points are deeper. Tries cutting with it, takes a big shaving, wedges up. Oh, what's going on? Well, okay, so all I actually did when we got it back, I realigned the blade to the shape of the mouth or the sole and sharpened it. So realigned it by grinding it here. Then I did what I've done with mine. And I mean, Ben will tell you we've used these for years. I've got to shine or polish it. All right. To sharpen, let's have some water. We're going to go to the back. So once I've got my shape to match that shape of the sole, my best place to sharpen is that back outside edge. 800, 2,500. I can then go leather strap on there. All right. So that's shine. Okay. Then we go back in, bevel down. I've got the adjuster on there. Screw goes back on the top. Lose some of the mess. The assistant cleans that up later. Do you not have an assistant, Ben? Oh, okay, all right, maybe not, all right. So something like chair seat was a good example of these. Let's see what we got. I can work with the grind, come down the edge. I can rough out across the middle. I can build shape. I'm taking quite a light cut. I can even get around here, across the grind. going to move my body around. Coming down. Plunging into the bits we've hacked out a little bit. Fantastic for that. Okay, now this is piece of elm, so we're not talking something soft, we're talking something that's got a bit of grain. Plan my shape. I can work on a push, or here, a bit difficult, I can work on a pull. All right. Likewise, other stuff we've sharpened, we've got a flat one. Let's see what's happening. It's loose, let's tighten that up. That's important. Heavy cut. This is one of the ones we sharpened, so we're just stringing things back. Can be nice. Other stupid things that we do regularly, I've done over the years. Wooden handle on the VERITAS ones come off. That gives me better access. So the handle's not touching the board. I can get into here. I will say it's got to be nice and sharp to do that, because if you're reducing the amount of leverage and grip you've got, you're pushing just on that point. But weird things like that can make a lot of difference. Obviously, to do the outside of a seat shape, we can go with round one, so curved one. To do the hollow on the side here, come round the corner, I go to the flat one across the bottom. So even with something just a simple seat shape, we'd need two Spokeshaves, curved one, flat one. This is a bit of a luxury, the CLIFTON one to do the thing, but fantastic as long as you understand how to sharpen it. Okay. No, we're finished.
Last minute question, Jay.
Sat there waiting. He knew. Okay, come on, then. What have you got? Go on.
So Maria's talking about her spokeshave again. That I think she doesn't have a very curved spokeshave, made more for hollowing seats and maybe spoon bowls. Oh, maybe she does have a very curved one. Would it? So a curved blade, it would be better to sharpen the back rather than try and get that curved bevel.
If you've got something similar to that sort of shape of the blade that's flat, definitely sharpen the back off. So you saw the shape. Let's fish this blade back out. So much easier. And again, Maria, now you've got to remember this one I've done work to over the years where I've made sure it's flat up to the front. You can see the shine I've got on there. So I flattened it with diamond stone and then polish it up. So then the only thing I've got to do each time I come to sharpen it, I can go something like the 800 and the 2,500 grit, which we've used on that scary sharpening board. Why that board? It keeps it flat. It's fundamental for what we're trying to do with this. Keep it nice and flat. I can polish it up. Gives me a nice sharp edge. As long as I don't go hitting a nail or anything, I'm not going to chip this front edge out as well. So that will be good. All right. So if you've got something as a flat edge, definitely easier to do. Something like an in shave, more difficult to do. You've got to sharpen the blade edge outside and flatten the inside and keep it sharp. But this is, if you're a roughing out tool, all right, but fundamental on what you're trying to sharpen. But definitely if you've got something with a flat blade like that, yeah, try and do that. A bit like the wooden one, even this has got a very slight curve across the length of it. All right, very difficult to show you. It looks dead flat. Actually, it's got a curve, bit of a spring. So that's better to work flat down it, but tapping out that holder. I know you've got to hold those little square bits, but easier to do. All right. Ben, any others? All right? You sure? Okay, good. Wow. All right. So a lot to throw at you today. A lot of sharpening. There's 3 different jigs there. Why use a sharpening jig? It makes it quicker, easier, and repetitive. Repetitive being the magic word. So you spend less time sharpening it in long term. Yeah, you spend a little bit of investment. I'm sorry, but that you'll get back on saving time later. Your tools will respond better to what you're trying to do. I wish I could freehand sharpen still. Nah. I've given up with that. This is so much easier to put it into something I know I can do, especially when we did the chair courses. I had to have it quick and easy back in the hands. I wasn't joking about playing relay. I'd literally take one off. I put the blade in, so I'd just move them around the room. And I would move the blade around the room. I'd take one blade out, I used to have a spare blade, and just basically go round, take that blade out, swap it over, set it up, off you go. When you come to set it up, remember which way your blade's got to go in, bevel down. Sharpened edge faces downwards. All right, sorry, Ben, I can bring it over a bit. All right, into there. All right, so bevel down. So your sharpened edge will be down, apart from low angle, bevel up. Chip breaker bit goes on the top. That's actually got to be done up tight, but when you come to adjust it, you want to scrap piece of wood on something, not a chair seat, and see where you're getting a cut. Now I've got a curve. Ooh. Let's move our seat round. Ben, what have you got on cameras? Let's have a look. Okay. I think then I might got an idea. All right, hang on. I'll do them up. Oh, all right. Okay, let's have a look on 3 a minute, just for. So I'm setting up. I've got the chair seat in here, got a little bit of a hollow. I start one side and then the other. I bounce it corner to corner to start up on the curve. Fine adjuster, just playing with lightly. And the other side, bring it up. Again, curve when I go find where I'm sat. That's a bit heavy. Bring it back. That's better. Then I tighten up that lock knob in the middle. Clamp it down. All right. Ideally, you can start with a scrap piece of wood. Just something to chat it and set it up when you're going. All right. So hope you've enjoyed, giving you a few insight bits on lots of chat. Nice to have some questions. My ear started to get better. All right. Trying to work out. All right. I know the last few weeks I had a few issues with a bit of feedback or something. We're trying to figure out what. So great to have those questions. Hopefully it's explained a few things. Some stupid things like flat the back of the blade. That little thing which is what I'm looking for, the little bit of milk carton as a packer, that can be good. Take the little file, especially if they're painted on the inside of that spoke shave, clean that up, because that will cause a rock point. That will cause vibration. That causes lots of chatter. Other thing, if you're getting lots of chatter, change that angle. That's important. Give it a bit more of a skew angle. You're taking less cut, but actually it will take you less time to do the job, because you're taking lots of little cuts. Other thing you can use, things like a candle, lubricate it a little bit. Check the blades flat. So all those little fundamental things we've checked, make it work when you get to the end of it, which is what you want to do. All right. We will see you next week. I'm back in on Tuesday. I'm making a baby's rattle. All right. So we'll see you then. Hope you've enjoyed. Give us a thumbs up and share it, please. Bye.